What's up, Radiant Icons, and welcome back to Dare to Be Iconic, the podcast made for icons who are daring to be themselves. I'm your host, Amanda Policelli, and for today's tea time sesh, we are spilling the tea on boundaries. Do you know how people say there are five love languages? Well, in my humble opinion, I actually think that there are six, with the sixth love language being boundaries, because that's right, Radiant Icons. Boundaries are a love language. Boundaries are sexy. They are self respect in action. And hot take alert, Radiant Icons, because you know I love serving that piping hot tea, and today is no exception. If someone gets uncomfortable with you setting a boundary, it's because they have benefited off of you not having one. Okay, that is the God honest truth. And if we're being so for real, with Valentine's Day just around the corner, we are all thinking about love. We are thinking about real love, right? And Valentine's Day is marketed to us as this proof of real love. And it's usually in this concept of flowers and chocolates and dates and being chosen. But the matter of the fact is, Radiant Icons, that real love does not start with someone else choosing you. It starts with you choosing yourself. And Radiant Icons, I am a big supporter of the choose you journey. And a vital step in that choosing yourself journey is setting boundaries, right? Making boundaries your new love language. Because basically, when you accept this new love language of yours, this is you saying, this is how I love myself. Loving yourself loudly is romantic. Having standards is attractive, Radiant Icons. And that is exactly what we are spilling the tea on today. So, without further ado, Radiant Icons, let's get into it. Are you ready, Radiant Icons? Because your tea time sesh is starting now. Now, I know it's a lot easier said than done, Radiant Icons, when it comes to accepting that boundaries are your new love language, right? And I mean, me myself, I still have difficulty with it at times. And when I was actually prepping for today's tea time sesh, I was thinking back of when was the first time this thought, right? This concept, this idea of boundaries being a love language, like where did it come from? And the first time actually was from that relationship I spoke about in last week's tea time sesh. Last week's tea time sesh, Hot and Healing, how to turn your pain into power. I will link that tea time sesh in the show notes below if you didn't get a chance to listen to it yet, Radiant Icons. But spoiler alert and trigger warning as well. Last week I revealed my big scary truth. And my big scary truth is that at 18 years old, I was in a dating violence relationship. My first relationship ever, my first boyfriend. It was a dating violence situation. We were together for 2 months. And when I tell you it was the worst 2 months of my life, it was the worst 2 months of my life that left me a lifetime of trauma. And I experienced so much in that relationship. I had a lot of trauma coming out of that relationship, but I also learned a lot out of that relationship. And in that specific relationship, right, my boundaries were constantly disrespected. They were questioned, they were pushed, they were diminished, they were ignored, right? And being in that abusive dynamic taught me something that I still carry with me today. And it is that when someone truly loves and respects you, Radiant Icons, they do not treat your boundaries as an inconvenience, right? They actually honor your boundaries. You don't have to be fighting to be heard. That dating violence relationship made me realize that boundaries truly are a love language. because respect is love in action. And a true partner that loves and respects you will respect your boundaries and honor them. They won't question them, they won't push them, they won't ignore them, they won't disrespect you, point blank and period. And coming out of that relationship, I made it a point in my hot and healing journey to learn how to advocate for myself and rebuild my confidence when it comes to setting boundaries and upholding them, accepting this concept that boundaries are my new love language. When someone respects my boundaries, oh my God, that is so attractive. Oh my God, that is so sexy. So, for all the men that love to listen to my tea time sessions that are into me, take notes, okay? Respect my damn boundaries, point blank and period. And for me, loving myself out loud, because we spoke about in today's intro, right? Loving yourself loudly is romantic. And for me, part of loving myself out loud, loving myself loudly, means no longer shrinking to keep the peace or staying silent to be chosen. I choose myself over someone choosing me. It means deciding that my needs, my feelings, and my limits do matter. And if you can't respect it, well, look at that. The door is right there. Don't let it hit you on the way out. So, now with all of that, Radiant Icons, I want to provide you some actionable steps that I have been putting into practice when it comes to accepting that boundaries are our new love language. So let's get to it. Step number one, Radiant Icons, identify where you haven't followed through on a boundary you already set. So here's the thing with this step. Most of us do not struggle when it comes to knowing our boundaries, right? We struggle with honoring them. We struggle with enforcing them when it's uncomfortable. So some examples of this are, right? You say you don't like last minute plans, but you still say yes when someone texts you at 9 p.m. to go out. You're not enforcing that boundary that you set, right? And there could be a multitude of reasons as to why you're not enforcing it. But that's one example. Another example, and I laugh because I am very guilty of this one actually. But we're learning, right? We're learning out loud. We're healing out loud together, Radiant Icons. But another example is you told yourself you wouldn't entertain inconsistent communication, yet you keep responding to the what you do in text. And I can say from personal experience from this example, as someone who actively does, I only do this with ATL boy. I'm gonna be so honest with you guys, Rainy. I say, when it comes to everyone else, I don't entertain inconsistent communication. If you are a man that wants me, that is in my life, you need to be consistent. Your words and actions do need to align. If they don't align, again, there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out, right? Type of deal. I'm a very busy woman. I don't have time for games. I run a strict program, okay? And I guess when it comes to ATL boy, there's no strict program because that man, I can just, he'll text me and I'll be like, oh, let me respond back. Oh, let me heart the message, this and that. And then I don't hear from him for like God knows how long, right? But I still entertain the text when it comes in. Why do I do that? Why do I do that? And here's what I think. This is here's why I think I don't enforce this boundary. I think one, it's because I still am like dreaming of some type of potential that we have together, or maybe it's the potential of him, the one that I never truly got over, right? Like maybe it's that. Maybe that plays into it. Another part of it is like this people pleasing of, oh, he texts me, oh, I know he has these type of feelings for me. Maybe I should try and respond because I know how he feels. Like what? Like where? I don't even know if that like makes sense. But like, do I do it? Yes, I think it's definitely part of people pleasing, but like whatever. Another thing could probably be because I don't want to be seen as rude. Like if I just ghost him or not answer or give him back the same energy, I don't want to be seen as rude to him. Like I don't want to be perceived as that. I don't know why I love being a man hater to everyone else, but except him. Like I don't, what kind of voodoo shit? Like, but yeah, like, I struggle with enforcing that one. And sometimes I wonder, why do I feel drained after that exchange of energy? That's my real life example. Okay. I'm not perfect, Radiant Icons. I'm imperfectly iconic and we're in it together. So when we're looking at applying this step into our lives, I encourage you, Radiant Icons, to look at that feeling of uncomfortability. That feeling of uncomfortability is what is going to propel us forward in enforcing these boundaries. It's not something that we should fear, even though we are currently fearing it. We are fearing that feeling of uncomfortability because it's uncomfortable and we don't like it. But you know what? That feeling of uncomfortability is where we grow. It's where we learn. It's where we are reframing and retraining our mind to see that these boundaries are a way of respecting ourselves, are a way to love ourselves out loud. When we tolerate a behavior that we say we are not going to tolerate anymore, we are actively disrespecting ourselves. So, we need to flip it. We need to retrain and rewire our brain to be okay with that uncomfortable feeling because each time, right, these examples that I went through, right, each time we tolerate these behaviors because it's uncomfortable for us to not be a people pleaser, to not say, no, to not answer to whatever it is that we're uncomfortable with being seen as. We are just disrespecting and hurting ourselves in the end. That is not a way to love ourselves out loud, Radiant Icons. So sit in that uncomfortability. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. This is our opportunity to grow and to learn and to, stand still, to stand firm in the I'm not tolerating inconsistent communication. So I'm not going to answer him, right? Maybe that's something that I do. You know what? Not, it's not a maybe. I will do that. Every time ATL boy texts me, I am not going to answer because I am not tolerating his inconsistent communication. That is not fair to me. And this is a boundary that I will be enforcing. I do not care anymore, quote unquote, if he sees me or views me as rude, as whatever it is anymore. I need to enforce this boundary because clearly, after I have whatever conversation I have with him, right, I'm anxious or I'm drained or like whatever negative feeling I'm feeling. That's a sign to me, a reminder of, hey, that's a boundary that you need to set that you're not enforcing. Like, what are you doing, girl? Like, that is my slap in the face that I need to enforce it. So, here we go. I'm going to hold myself accountable on this podcast like I always do. So, anyway, let's get to step number 2, right? Hold a boundary even when it costs you attention, validation, or a connection. I have a really good story for this one, Radiant Icons. But before I get into that piping hot tea, this is where boundaries stop being theoretical and start being real. So let's just dive in, shall we? I went on my first date since the breakup around mid to late January. And I knew during the date that we were not romantically compatible, but I was like, okay, like we can still be friends, we can still be acquaintances because we work in the same type of field. And I'll just leave it at that. Right. And so while we're being friends and he's being a little bit flirty, I told him that there are certain boundaries that I have. And it got to a point where he completely disrespected me. Now, I say it got to a point. It got to maybe 4 days of us talking and like very lightly texting. And then the last conversation we had is where he completely disrespected me. He crossed a line. And when I told him basically what was up, he diminished it. he honestly ignored it and he made fun of me low key. And so I was like, oh, you know what? You want to disrespect a boundary that I clearly told you about? Cool. Awesome. I'm going to disengage from this conversation. And I had no plans to ever talk to this guy again in my life. Then he texts me the next morning because again I disengaged and he was like, "Oh shit. Like I may have said something." Again, I don't believe his apology was genuine, but he texts me and he apologizes. And in this moment, I was like, "Oh, do I answer back? I feel kind of guilty for not being like, thanks for the apology, X, Y, and Z. But I think we could just keep things professional." Like, I was like, oh, maybe I respond because he did apologize. Like, I'm playing this like people pleasing. Like, I feel guilty for not responding to him because I don't want to be seen as a bitch or whatever. But I was like, no, like he disrespected me. So, going to rule number two, this is clearly where our boundaries stop being theoretical and they start being real. When he disrespected me, I disengaged. My boundary was firm. He crossed that line. He knew he crossed that line. He knew that was a boundary of mine. And so, what am I going to do? I can either laugh about it, tolerate it, and keep on going in whatever this connection is, or I can disengage because he clearly disrespected me. I'm going to choose that second option because that second option honors that choice and commitment to choose myself, to love myself loudly. When I set that boundary, that was my way of saying, this is how I love myself. And this person, even though, it started off as potential romantic into platonic, that person, if he can't respect this boundary of my life of how I choose to love myself, he's not worth having in my life. He is not worth the connection. So I'm going to uphold that boundary, even if it means I lose him. That man ain't worth shit to me. Absolutely not. Why am I going to engage with someone that disrespected me? That doesn't honor me and honor what I choose is right for me. It's not that hard. Step number three is sit with the discomfort instead of rescuing it. This is the step that most people skip because no one likes being in discomfort. No one likes this feeling of uncomfortability. But again, this feeling of uncomfortability, yes, it's unnatural, but it's a feeling that honestly allows us to grow and to learn. It allows us to finally choose ourselves because setting boundaries are us saying, this is how I love myself. And if someone cannot respect how you love yourself, they are not worth your time. They truly are not worth your time because they are not respecting you. They are not respecting how you choose to love yourself. And honestly, I rather choose myself than choose making someone feel more comfortable at the expense of myself. Always choose you, Radiant Icons. You will never be disappointed with that choice. All right, Radiant Icons, that is your tea time sesh for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, to leave a rating, a review, to tell your friends about us, to tell everyone and anyone because you know we love what? More Radiant Icons in our iconic community of ours. Honestly, Radiant Icons, today's episode was so much fun. I love loving ourselves out loud. I love healing out loud. I love daring to be iconic together out loud. I just love all of it with you guys. I guess it's just the love month and I just have so much love in my heart for y'all. But no, I truly, truly do. Especially after last week's tea time sesh, I received an outpouring of love and support and just encouragement. And last week, as you guys know, was one of the scariest episodes of my entire life. And it just feels really, really good to have your support and your love as I now live my truth out loud. And it's just so freeing. And It just means the world to me, your response from last week's episode, and I just hope I can help someone by sharing my story. And I hope that this week's Tea Time Sesh helps you on your journey of setting boundaries and loving yourself out loud, because choosing you and loving you is the most romantic thing you can do this Valentine's Day. Honestly, some may say it's the most iconic thing you can do for yourself, but you know what? I may be a little bit biased for the anti-cons. But anyway, I love you all so much. Have a great and iconic Valentine's Day. I'll chat with y'all next week. Remember, Radiant Icons, dare to be iconic. Bye.